We're back live here on YouTube as we have our storm system rolling through the area. It arrived late last night with the snowfall, even some snowfall yesterday evening, but we've seen that expand in coverage across all of the area throughout the day today, and that continues right now. And really just want to go through what we can expect overnight tonight and into tomorrow before this storm system clears. And then we'll also take a look ahead to the next storm that's going to be arriving really for late Saturday, but primarily for Sunday, Monday, and early Tuesday. And that one could be a little bit more impactful than this one has. So we'll look at some of the newer model information for that storm system. But again, we'll start off with taking a look at what we're seeing right now. And we'll get started in this, more fully into this YouTube Live here in about 30 seconds to a minute. I'll spin this back around, but it'll give me a chance to make sure everything's working the way that I planned on. But here are those live looks across western Montana. We're seeing the snow up on the East Ridge towards Butte. Looking at the snow in Kalispell, lighter snowfall in the Missoula area right now, but down in Bozeman, things have quieted down for the moment, but that will likely change again as we go throughout the evening. So thank you all for tuning in this evening. As you are tuning in, certainly let us know what kind of conditions you're seeing out your window and where you're tuning in from. And then as always, if you have any comments or questions, if you have any, specific locations within western Montana that you're kind of more curious about for those current impacts, but also what we can expect, feel free to ask those in the comment section, and I'll try and keep an eye on those as we go about this. But overall, we're in the middle of this first storm system. Overall, I think we're beyond halfway through it as we've seen the snowfall throughout the day. One thing I am going to bring up really quick, and I'll just be telling you about it. If you have travel plans, just be aware there's a lot of slush, snow, ice all across our region from northwest Montana through west central portions of the state and into southwest Montana. Really the only areas right now that aren't dealing with, I'd say, more minor to moderate impacts. Areas down through the Bitterroot Valley where currently from the MDT 511 map, we're looking at wet conditions on the roads. Those could certainly freeze up though as we go later on tonight. And then areas from about Glen through Dillon and to Monida Pass there on Interstate 15 is marked as dry. So really those are the only two areas that are seeing less than, say, scattered snow and ice across the entirety of our region. There is one other zone right along Interstate 90, and I'm just looking at this that's more just wet from about the Garrison area through Deer Lodge to the Anaconda turnoff, but outside of that, everywhere else is looking at those snowy and icy conditions that will be continuing overnight tonight. So there's a quick breakdown for travel impacts, but just be aware if you have any plans into tomorrow morning, there will likely still be some slick spots even as this system begins to clear. But here's again those live looks. Kalispell, Butte, Bozeman, Missoula, we're looking at those scattered snow showers and moderate at times, especially now moving in towards Kalispell and Butte, a little bit lighter towards Missoula and quiet in Bozeman at the moment. But like I said a few minutes ago, that will be changing. We currently have those temperatures ranging from the mid-teens to the mid-20s. For most of our area, Butte has been our warmer spot pretty much all day. But we'll see these temperatures fortunately not getting as cold as what we have seen earlier this week, but still looking at those lows dropping down to the single digits and teens for most areas tonight. Now, this has all been driven by this first storm system here. The majority of that moisture has actually gone further south into parts of Utah and Colorado, but we have a little low pressure system. You saw that little bit of a spin right there that helped to enhance some of the totals up here, or enhance a little bit of that snowfall into our region. But you notice this back edge to this first wave. There is a back edge to this first storm system that's going to bring us a brief break into Saturday afternoon outside of a few mountain showers, but we aren't done there. Here comes our next storm system, this large trough of low pressure with a pretty condensed low pressure center there off the Pacific coast. This will be working its way into our region as we get into late Saturday night, but specifically into Sunday and Monday. And that could be a bit more of an impactful system. It's certainly on the trend up. in forecast models as we've gone throughout the day. So here's a look at radar over about the last 6 hours. You can see that west to east motion. I'll bring this a little further south and zoom it out. Even though the radar is not showing very much in the way of snowfall down into parts of southwest Montana, specifically towards Bozeman and then down towards West Yellowstone, it is continuing. We've seen snowfall throughout the day. This is our dreaded, I like to call it, radar hole. We're just not seeing much of what's going on down at the surface. We've got another one up here into northwestern Montana, so really from areas north of Kalispell and into Lincoln County. We're just not seeing a whole lot of the actual information down at the ground from radar. But in all of these areas, we still are looking at that light to moderate snowfall. I'm going to stop this, and I'll zoom in a little bit closer here. We can see the majority of our moderate snowfall, and again, Kalispell, we watched it on the camera a short time ago. It is ongoing there, but really down the US 93 corridor is at least where radar is picking up that heaviest snowfall. So zooming in a little bit closer, places like Polson, Pablo, Ronan, St. Ignatius, then down into the Jocko Valley, Arlee, here into the Missoula Valley, and then down into the northern half of the Bitterroot. And then we have some light to moderate snowfall back here towards Drummond, Avon, moving in towards Elliston, Garrison, Deer Lodge, and then back in towards Phillipsburg and the Georgetown Lake areas. This will continue to move off to the east, but again, I think this is getting to the backside of this storm, so we're really not seeing anything even back here towards Spokane. So I think once this main wave pushes through over the next couple of hours, we're going to see those conditions begin to calm from west to east, and I think that's really going to start taking place around, say, 10 o'clock, but continuing especially after midnight for those snow showers to begin tapering off. But that's also going to be our window down here towards Bozeman specifically. We could see some slightly heavier snowfall starting to work its way in really from this batch of activity. So we do still have winter weather advisories for most of western Montana. Northwest, west central portions of the state, these will be running through 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Some of these closer to the Elkhorn, Boulder Mountains, and then up over McDonald Pass, those run through 5 a.m. And then these down here in southwest Montana, Bozeman included, as well as for the Gallatin and Madison County Mountains, the Big Belt, Bridger, and Castle Mountains, those will run through 10 a.m. For the additional snowfall accumulations, which should be on the lighter side for most areas. Bozeman is one of our exceptions in the mountains surrounding there, and for those travel impacts into tomorrow morning. Now, Future Tracker has done a pretty good job throughout the day just showing the widespread but still scattered nature of these snow showers, and really there is that back edge of this, and it might be just a hair slow with it, but it has the right idea. Noticing as we get closer to, say, 10, 11 o'clock, most of the showers are primarily up in the mountains towards the Missions, the Sapphires, and then into the Bitterroot Mountains. But then you get into southwest Montana where more of our more moderate valley snowfall will be ongoing. This will continue through midnight, but notice that diminishing trend for most areas after midnight towards Bozeman, Livingston, down towards West Yellowstone. It takes a little bit longer, but I think by the time we get to sunrise tomorrow, most of the snowfall is out of here, except for some lighter showers, primarily in our mountains. Could see a few flurries through the afternoon, especially in northwest Montana, but overall, we'll still see those travel impacts into the morning hours, but other than that, we should be looking at a relatively quiet afternoon on Saturday. Again, those spotty showers continue, but that's going to be a short-lived break. Now, as for the additional snowfall, I think this has a pretty decent idea. I think most areas, we're talking less than an inch. Maybe just a dusting of additional snowfall from this up to an inch. And then Bozeman specifically, maybe 1 to 2 inches, I think we could see. And then that heaviest snowfall up over the Mission Mountains, the Swan Mountains, and then into those between Bozeman, Big Sky, and West Yellowstone before this storm system clears out. But this is looking through Saturday afternoon. But that's kind of gives you a rough idea of what we could see additionally from this storm. Now, going further out, and I just need to bring this into right here. And this is where I'm going to start this. This is around 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Cloudy skies are going to be the main story, but you see as early as, say, 7 to 9, right along the state line, here comes the first wave of storm number 2. And that's going to continue to expand in coverage across all of western Montana through Sunday morning. And as I go through this, just notice how it's pretty consistent, but we start getting some of these darker blues for areas along and north of Interstate 90, as well as down here towards West Yellowstone. There's going to be more moisture with storm system number 2. That's going to continue through the day on Sunday, and notice how it just does not change positioning. And the reason for that, we're going to have that Arctic cold that's really not moved a whole lot. It's still been centered up over north central Montana. We're going to see another push of that into the day on Monday. And this is going to be another situation, and I'll spin this back around. This is going to be another situation where we've got Pacific moisture riding up and over top of that cold Arctic air, and that could lead to another overrunning event. This is one thing that models have been hinting towards, but have been, at least more of them have been showing this throughout the day today. So especially into northwest Montana and then central portions of the state, we could be talking about another round of heavy snowfall with some gusty winds, 20 to 30 miles per hour, so blowing and drifting snow could be a potential as well. So just kind of keep this in the back of your mind. We've still got a few days to watch this, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, based on some of the things I'm seeing right now, it wouldn't surprise me if we have to declare some weather alert days, just based on some of the trends that I've been seeing. Not going to say that we are going to have those just yet, but certainly stay tuned to the forecast as we go throughout this weekend, because it could be another impactful system. Continuing on through Future Tracker, we're still looking at really areas Missoula, north to Kalispell, and then south and east from there, including Butte and Bozeman. This continues through Monday morning on this particular model. Then we see, as we go through the afternoon, notice how this is drifting a little further south. That Arctic front will be moving through northwest Montana, which may cut the snowfall off at some point through the afternoon, leading just to light snow, but that's where we're going to be dealing with the blowing and drifting snow at that point. And then we get more of that zone right on Interstate 90 of moderate to occasionally heavy snowfall that could start to take shape, and that's not great timing. This is right into the evening commute on Monday, so be aware we could be talking about some travel impacts once again. And this continues all the way into Tuesday as that cold front sags south, really that convergence point where the cold front sets up and where that Pacific moisture hits. Just like we saw with that last storm, the Bitterroot Valley had that initial collision of those two air masses, and then it moved further north into west central and northwestern Montana the day after. Could be a very similar type situation where really, 20, 30 miles can make a load of difference about how much snowfall you see. So this is just I'm going to look at pull up the snowfall totals map. And this is just one model, but a lot of the models are showing a very similar type setup. This is from Saturday through, I think I have it set through Thursday. And this may be overdone. I don't want to, I'll preface this right now. I'm not trying to hype it up, but I just want to show what the potential could be, because multiple models are showing this, and there is always the potential that this may be completely overblown. But just want to give an extra heads up to folks being like, hey, we could be looking at another round of heavy snowfall and those travel impacts. So, well, there we go. This is continuing on into Sunday afternoon. You see those heaviest snowfall totals primarily up in our mountains. That will continue to be the case, but watch this zone, particularly from about Kalispell to Missoula, down towards Butte, Bozeman, and areas north from there. As we go into Monday, the snowfall continues, as we saw on that one model we were looking at. That main band of snow just does not change position all that much. Continuing through Tuesday, stretching all the way from northwest Montana down into southeast portions of the state, kind of just bisecting the entire state of Montana. But you notice how as that drops southward, we see some more of those heavy snowfall totals, and that continues to expand into Wednesday before I think things start to quiet down more significantly. But like I said, multiple models are showing similar types of conditions. That's just one model, but just be aware, we could see another pretty potent system moving in starting on Sunday, but we'll get more information about this as we go throughout it. Right now, there are, and I actually have this up as the next graphic, and I meant to show this, already there are winter storm watches for areas along the divide and to the east from there. This does include the Big Belt Bridger and Castle Mountains, as well as towards the McDonald Pass area there, closer to Elliston. So winter storm watches, and let me make sure I get the correct information for these particular watches in these zones. We could be talking anywhere from about a 7 to as much as 14 inches of snow for the mountains within these regions. So that's really what we're looking at. It would not surprise me at all to start, as we go throughout the weekend, at least starting to see some winter weather advisories, if not some winter storm watches, for parts of northwest and west central Montana based on the trends that we're seeing. But that's just going to be something we have to watch out for. One more place that I want to look for, because we've got Great Falls located or marked on this, and that is one of our, one of the lower places in that. I just want to see what the National Weather Service is calling for that particular watch area. So continuing on, Great Falls, here we go. So out in the lower elevation areas east of the divide, they're even showing anywhere from about 5 to 7 inches between Sunday morning and Monday afternoon with that band of snow. So there is a potential we could be seeing something similar come from the National Weather Service in Missoula. These are all being issued that we were looking at. Those have all been posted from the National Weather Service in Great Falls. So we'll have to see if the National Weather Service in Missoula sort of follows suit, what their thoughts are on it. But they were also mentioning that potential of that more potent system moving in towards the early parts of next week. And there is even the potential down towards the southern Bitterroot Valley that we get enough of that warm air that we transition over to a mix of rain and snow, and that could even move as far north as the Missoula area. So that could throw some interesting monkey wrenches into those snowfall totals. That's why it's like, don't get locked up on exactly how much we're going to see. Just be prepared. We could see some decent snowfall. But that could lead to some issues in its own right. If we do see that transition over to rain and then those temperatures fall, that could lead to some icing concerns. And with ground temperatures into the 20s, even if those temperatures get back above freezing in that time period, we're still going to be looking at that potential for the icing of road surfaces and sidewalks and things like that, much like we saw about 2 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago here in Missoula and up towards Kalispell. So let me check one thing. So they're talking about west central and southwest Montana specifically, an additional 2 to 5 inches of snow potentially through Tuesday morning, and that's just talking Monday into Tuesday. That's not even talking about the potential of, you know what, let me just read this. This is the direct forecast discussion from the National Weather Service for that Sunday through Monday time period. So Sunday, a push of subtropical moisture will override remaining cold air in the valleys. Light to moderate snow is expected to produce up to 2 inches in western Montana at greater than 40% probabilities, with some locations up to 4 inches by Monday morning. 6 to 12 inches possible up in our mountains. Let's see, continuing on, Monday an Arctic front begins to impact northwest Montana with winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, those temperatures rapidly falling, while snow will begin to taper off behind that front, just like we were showing in that one forecast model. Expect winter impacts due to blowing and drifting snow, as well as with those temperatures falling, a flash freeze potentially on the roads. Then, as that same model was showing, how it sort of just drifts south towards the Interstate 90 corridor, west central, southwest Montana. It could be in prime location for moderate to heavy snowfall on Monday. The moisture will be slower on cutting off. We could see an additional 2 to 5 inches of snow or higher through that period into Tuesday morning. And then winds associated with that will lead to considerable blowing and drifting snow. So It's really just going to come down to where does that cold front come through and where does that Pacific moisture clash, and that's where we could be talking about another overrunning event, moderate to heavy snow. So I've talked a lot about that. Let me jump back in. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask those here in the chat section. Haven't seen much of those since we transitioned over to YouTube, but I'm going to always ask about those. But I've talked a lot about the snow and the potential for some heavier snowfall or the heavier impacts from that second storm system. Don't disregard the fact that we are looking at impacts right at this time from the lighter snowfall that we're seeing. But there is some good news. If at least based on those same forecast models that we're looking at, as we look beyond that storm system Wednesday, take a look at the temperatures. So let me back this up into Tuesday. Let's do it Monday here. Okay, Tuesday. You see that cold front where it's got it marked pretty close to 25 in Kalispell versus 9 below in Cut Bank, 10 below in Great Falls, 21 in Butte, 2 in Helena. Well, that's that zone where that front is going to be sitting. As we get into Tuesday or beyond Tuesday, Wednesday, it starts to retreat, and watch the temperatures start to climb as a result. We're back into the mid 30s by Thursday in most of the area. 38 for Missoula, 35 Kalispell there, and as long as this trend holds, those temperatures only continue to go up. So a week from today, we're talking maybe even towards Kalispell, upper 30s, low 40s. Southwest Montana holding on to a little bit of cold air there down towards Dillon and West Yellowstone, right around 25 to 29 degrees. And then we get into Saturday, and it looks like even more warming is going to move into not only our part of the state, but the entirety of the state. We're talking mid to upper 30s and even some low to mid 40s across western Montana, about, again, a week and a day away, so there's plenty of time for this to change. But another one of those things I've been talking about, snow and cold and ice for so long, bringing up the potential of a little bit of a more mild air moving into the region is, for me, it's always a nice thing. So be aware of that. We're going to be looking at really two main storm systems, the one for tonight and into tomorrow morning, and then the second one that's going to be really Sunday through Tuesday with that Arctic cold front, and that's the one I think we need to watch. That's also the one where I think if we are going to declare some more weather alert days, it will be for that time frame. More forecast or more model information will come in. We'll start to narrow down and hone that forecast as we get closer. But I know the weekends are busy, and I know a lot of people may not be paying as close of attention to the weather as we get into this weekend, especially if you have plans. But just be aware as we get into the really Sunday, but especially into Monday and Tuesday, we could be looking at another more impactful system for our region. But then maybe after that, even though we'll still be dealing with some active weather, the potential of a little bit more mild conditions and some quieter weather is, at least the potential of that's increasing a little bit. So something to look forward to. And with that, I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. I hope you all have a great rest of the evening and a great and warm weekend. Hopefully you're going out and having a lot of good fun, maybe going and enjoying some of the fresh snow, going up to the slopes for some skiing, or even just doing cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, snowmobiling across the area. It's going to be a pretty nice Saturday to do that, I think, and then we'll get to that next storm system on Sunday. But as always, if you have any photos or videos of how you are enjoying the snow or what you're seeing with the snow, certainly feel free to share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in. Tune into our live broadcast at 10 o'clock where me and Laurel will have the latest news and weather updates. And then, of course, tune in for this weekend. On Saturday, we'll have... Am I going to see who's in? I believe it's Bowen West who's going to be anchoring, and then forecaster Brianna Henderson will be live for the Saturday show. And then we've got something a little special planned on Sunday. As some of you may know, it is the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, and we're going to do a little bit of some special coverage on the backside of that. And for that, me and Laurel will be back in at 9, I believe it's 9:15 now, but it's going to be in the roughly that 9 o'clock period. And then we'll be in for the Sunday night shows. So certainly tune in for that. Should be a good night. And I think with that, I will wrap this up. But again, stay safe, stay warm, enjoy the snow, but beware, there's going to be some slick conditions tonight, and then we see that bigger storm system for Sunday and Monday. That could be a fair bit more impactful. So with NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Gomes.